Hi, my name is Gina, and I'm a grant specialist with First Children's Finance on the Minnesota Grants team. And today in this video, I'm going to show you how to apply for the Minnesota Access to Technology Grant. First, we'll talk about some things that you can do and review and prepare before you start applying. And then I'll show you the actual process of applying. We'll go through it step by step. And we'll also talk about any help that you can get from us as far as assistance, how you can call us or reach us to reach out for help. I'm going to share my screen and share the information to help you with knowing who to call and when you could call to get help for this grant application process. Our grant team is available by email or by phone. Our email address is grants@firstchildrensfinance.org, or you can call the helpline at 612-473-6020. If you reach our voicemail, and sometimes that can happen, especially during the busy time when everyone is applying during the open application period, please do leave a voicemail message so that we can call you back. We do answer the helpline during the open application period, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then also on Tuesday and Thursday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. I'll be sure to repeat that information about how to get help at the end of this video as well. So in case you didn't jot that down, you'll have another chance to do that. It's also shown on our webpage as well. Before we begin the application process, I want to recommend that you do review the resources that are available on our webpage. We won't go into detail about that here, but I'll just refer to it that you'll want to make sure you understand what is eligible. Here it shows a screen of the uses that are eligible with this grant program: connectivity, new equipment, childcare business management software, and also training are eligible items that you can apply for with this grant. Here I want to show you just briefly what is on the application. And again, we are going to go through the application step by step here, but I'll just give you a brief overview before we begin. We are going to be asking provider information, demographics of the provider and children in the program. And this is only for aggregate reporting only. There also is a technology self-assessment and a few other questions. We'll just move on to that. There are some narrative questions just asking you to describe your current childcare business, how much time you spend on managing your business when you are not caring for children, more detail about how you would use the grant funds, and asking you about if the grant funds that you'll request, if they will cover the whole cost or if you'll have other means to pay for that. And if you receive a grant, how many jobs might be impacted by that. The fifth section is to put in your grant request and the budget information. So we will go into this in more detail. You'll get to see what it actually looks like, but you'll want to include information. Let's say you want to apply for a smartphone. You'll want to indicate which smartphone and have some information about that, particularly the cost and what vendor or store you would be purchasing that from. And then the final section of the application is the agreement, or also called the attestation. And you'll want to make sure that you read that thoroughly, and you will be signing for that as you submit your application. To show you the application overview, basically applications are submitted through an online portal that we use. It's called submittable.com. And for providers who did not have online access, a paper application may be requested, and it must be received at least 24 hours prior to the grant application deadline to ensure that we can process it. Each application may cover one license setting only, and applicants may submit only one application per grant period for each license. Applications must be signed by the owner of the childcare business, even if the application is completed by another individual. And we do accept electronic signatures. On this screen, it shows, it's kind of in tiny print here, but our web page address, which is firstchildrensfinance.org/for, FOR, dash businesses slash grants. And there you will find the resources that I mentioned. You'll see the information about the grant in general when it opens on the 19th and when it closes on the 26th. I just want to make a note here that it does close, the grant portal closes at 4:59 p.m. Central Standard Time on April 26th. The reason that it closes at 4:59 is because right on the dot at 5 o'clock, the portal will close and will not allow any applications to go through after that, and we cannot alter that. So just wanted to make a point of that. You can see on the screen that there is a black rectangular box on the bottom that says Access to Technology Grant applications open on April 19th. When you go to our webpage, which is the easiest way to get to the application, you'll see that that will change and it will actually say inside that box, click here to apply. Beneath that black rectangular box with the white text, you'll see where we have the eligibility guide, just a listing of the eligibility items or uses, and then it shows where our other resources are, the grant guidelines, where you can just click on the link, and the full list of eligible and ineligible uses. The grant range, and you'll see that that's right underneath that box, and you can click on those to review those items. And I do recommend that you do that before you apply so that you have a good understanding of what the guidelines are and what is eligible. Here's the little box, more magnified. So that's what you're going to look for, that you're going to click on to apply. So I'm going to pause here just for a moment to switch screens, and then I will show you what it looks like once you click on that, and we'll go through the actual application. Once you click on that rectangular box, once you click on that rectangular box, you'll come to this screen, and this will give you some guidance as far as just a summary of what this grant is about. I'm going to just slowly scroll down here. It also does give the information about grant assistance, our phone line, and the times that we're available. So we won't go through this in detail right now. What I want to get to is the actual application to show you that. So first it will ask for your address, and I just put in, we're just kind of going to make this up as we go along, and you're going to the bottom and you'll want to save. So you'll enter in all of these cells here for your address and phone number, and then you'll click save and continue. So you'll see that it still looks like that same page, but it's going down to a couple different questions. And it's asking you if your childcare program is in Minnesota. We're going to say yes. And this question is asking, is your childcare program a certified childcare center or legally non-licensed? Because this grant is for licensed childcare centers, licensed family childcare providers, and tribally licensed childcare providers, we are going to answer no to this question. Otherwise, we won't be eligible for this grant. So I'm hoping you're noticing the difference here, that this is asking about certified childcare centers or legally non-licensed. And if you are licensed, then you'll want to answer no to this question. So then we go to next. Again, we see the guidelines here, it's going to change a little bit. Sorry for the scrolling. And here we're going to put in the name of our business. And we are going to put in, I'm going to do a test child care center. And we are going to say that my test child care center is a family child care business. And we're going to put in a license. I'll just make one up here for that reason. And we're going to say that the provider director is the same person as the owner. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and fill some of this in for us, and then we'll come back to it. I filled in some of these areas and I'm just going to go through these with you. So it does ask if the provider director is the same person as the owner. I filled in our name. I'm making up a name called Grants Specialist and putting my email address in. You do need an email address, and you'll want to make sure that it is an email that you check frequently, because all communications about this grant will go to that email, including awards. It's asking about, is the mailing address used for tax purposes? Or in other words, is it also the same address that you would use on your IRS form? If you say no to this, let's see, you'll want to put in the address that is used for tax reasons. So if you answer no to this question, then the address that you put on your W-9 is the address that we would use for tax reporting. That's we won't go into detail about that now because it's not necessary for your application. So typically you'll answer yes, unless that is different for you, if you have a corporate office or something of that sort. So you'll go through and enter your zip code, your county, and you'll want to, I'm going to change mine here because it was showing the state, and your phone number. And then it's going to ask you how many childcare sites or licenses do you operate? So it has a drop-down box here, and I chose 1, but you can choose 2 to 5 or 6 or more sites. You're going to choose your capacity here for how many children and number of children you are licensed for at the site that covers or is associated with this application. And we will say 10 for this. Of course, you'll say what is appropriate for your program. Do you accept families with child care assistance program, CCAP? Select yes if you would accept a family with CCAP when you have an opening, and select no if you would not accept a family with CCAP when you have an opening. And this question does not refer to your current enrollment only. So this is if you would accept. So then you would say yes. Please note that you can save your draft of your application at any time. So I'm just going to show you that because you can save at any time. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And here on the left-hand side, there is a little box that says save draft. So we can save, and you can do that at any time while you're working on it. You can walk away or log out and log back in. We don't recommend that you keep the program logged in for a long amount of time, like for the whole day, because it will cause glitches. So it's better if you save and log out and then come back in. So we'll go back to where we were at here. We are going to answer the questions in regard to the demographics about us as a child care provider. And I'm just going to pick the first boxes of every one because this is just a made up demographic. And we said we had 10 children. Now it's asking us about the children in the program. So just a couple quick answers about the provider, and then it goes into the demographics of the children. And be sure to read through all of this when you are actually applying. For the sake of time, we're just going through and showing you what this is going to look like. So the total number of children currently enrolled, we're going to indicate a number, and then it'll ask you for different age groups. So the number of infants, we'll just say 4, and the number of infants who meet high needs criteria. So right up above here, we had a definition for the high needs criteria. You will want to read that and see how or if that applies to your program. And we will say 1, and number of toddlers, we'll say 4, and we will say none for high needs criteria. And then it's asking about preschoolers. So it's asking for every age group. And I am just going to have that equal out to be 10. And then it asks, the last question about the demographics asks if you have access to the ethnicity information for the children enrolled in your care. You can answer yes or no. When you answer yes, then it brings up more questions. So it's going to ask for this information. I'm just going to put in a few numbers just so we can go through. I'll pause for a moment while I fill this in. So I filled in my numbers. Obviously, if it is 0, then you put 0, but I'm just filling it in for the sake of our application. Again, frequently throughout this, it will remind you that you can save at the end, at the bottom of the page if you'd like. Then it goes into a technology self-assessment. And so we are going to assess ourselves and our program for this application. It's asking about connectivity, and this is internet connectivity. So it's asking, what is our current status? And so we can indicate here, or you can indicate what is appropriate for you. You could say no internet connectivity, or unstable internet access, or adequate, which means it works fine. For a smartphone, we could say no smartphone, or my smartphone is 5 or more years old, or it is, my smartphone is new, it's less than 4 years old. So each question has a drop-down box with this little arrow to the right. It's asking now about a tablet. Do you own a tablet? We can say no tablet, my tablet is 6 or more years old, or my tablet is new, it's less than 5 years old. So I'm just randomly picking some answers here. It's going to ask about a laptop. I have no laptop, or my laptop is more than 6 years old, or my laptop is less than 5 years old and relatively new. It's going to ask about a desktop computer. And this one is, I have no desktop computer. My desktop computer is more than 8 years old, or my desktop computer is new, less than 7 years old. It'll ask about a printer or scanner combination. The drop down for this has 4 responses. I have no printer scanner. I have an inkjet printer only, no scanner copier equipment, or I have a laser printer or multifunction printer with printing, copying, scanning capability, or I lease my printing, copying equipment. So you choose whichever one is appropriate for your program. Then it asks about business management software, such as accounting, spreadsheet, childcare management software. And so you could say you have no business management software, or you have one of the 3 types of software, or you have 2 of the 3 types, or you have all 3 types of software. So we're just going to choose some for our test. And then the final question about this for the self-assessment is to ask you about your technology skills. So you can indicate if you feel that you're very much a beginner or have very basic skills, or I am comfortable with my current technology but need training for new technology, or I am proficient with technology and I don't need a class to learn new technology. We're just going to choose one here. And again, it reminds you that you can save if you want to. And then it goes into the application questions. So these are the narrative or the more narrative questions asking you to describe your current business management practices and how would technology or how would a technology grant improve the long-term efficiency of managing your childcare business. So you can write a couple sentences here. There is a limit of 500 words just to describe your current situation. Then it asks for when you're not caring for children, how many hours per week do you spend managing business aspects of your childcare? And this has a drop-down box. So you can say that you spend 20 hours or more per week, or less than 20 hours, but more than 10 hours per week. Or the last option is less than 10 hours per week. Please describe in detail how you will use the grant funds if awarded. That's the last question here in this section. If you're submitting multiple items for consideration, it's really important to note here that you will want to add a priority list. So for example, if you are wanting to get some accounting software for your business, but you also need a smartphone, please let us know which of those two it has the highest priority for you. And then you want to indicate here in this box, what will be the entire cost or for the grant to pay for the resources that you are asking for. Also, then the second question is asking what additional resources will be used to complete your technology purchase. So if you are asking for something that exceeds the $1,000 maximum award allowance, what other means would you have to pay for that that overage? And so again, you have 500 characters available here that you just type. You click into the box and then just type your response. If you receive this grant, how many jobs will be impacted is the next answer, excuse me, question. And you'll just want to answer. You can either use this arrow up or arrow down, or you can type in the number. So it's always going to be at least one because you'll include your own job. And then if you do have employees, then of course you would add to that. Now we get into the grant request and budget information. For my made up application here, our kind of pretend application, I am going to ask for $500. And so I'll just put that amount in. As you can see, you can also use the arrow up or arrow down. So either way, you can either click in it and type or use the arrow up or arrow down. And that's the same for most of the boxes. It is really important that you read through this and make sure, especially if you haven't read the eligible uses list prior to doing this application, this has a live link and you can click into it and then you can review it right there while you are working on your application. But I do recommend that you read it before you start. It'll just help give you some guidance to know what you could ask for. And you'll want to have that information prepared. You'll want to review the terms of the grant. We won't go into detail on these, but I do recommend, in fact, you really must read through these before you agree. And you will need to agree. If this box is left open, it will not let you submit the application at the end. So you do need to read through it and then agree to those terms. Now it continues on and asks more information about the item or items that you are asking for. So in this case, I'm going to click on all of these only for the sake of demonstration. You will click on only what you need. So if you were just asking for a smartphone, then you click on new equipment, smartphone. And you'll see what happens there. When I did that, it pulls up a box, a couple boxes that will then ask you, how much will that cost, that smartphone? And then you're going to fill in this narrative information about identifying why this equipment is most needed to help your child care program. So as I mentioned, just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to go through and click on all these boxes. So I'm just going to pause here for a moment and then I'll be right back and we'll show you that. Okay, so I have clicked on all the boxes, which is going to open up all the additional branching of this application so that I can show you. But again, you'll want to click on only that which you are requesting. So if you are only looking to get a smartphone, you'd only click on smartphone. I do want to point out one thing. If you are requesting something such as website creation, that just comes to mind, then that would fall under other. So anything that doesn't fall into these specific categories above, you'll want to click other so that you'll have that box show up. And I'll show you that at the bottom of this form. So as you can see, because we did click on every box, it opened up an total expense for that particular item that we checked. And then for each of those, it does ask for you to describe or list more information about the item that you're requesting. So you will want to do that for each item that you are requesting. And there's some notes to read for each one that will help give you some guidance in regard to each of those types of eligible uses. So we'll just scroll down through this. I just want to show you an example. And here I was going, we want to ask, we were going to put in our $500 for a printer scanner. And what is probably going to happen is it won't let me submit until I uncheck the rest of those boxes. So it is going to ask for information. And I'm just going to be brief. And pause here for a moment while I unclick the boxes. But as you can see before I do that, I do want to show you this other section. So if it is something that doesn't fall into one of those other categories, then you can indicate it here in other, and then you can provide some, you can provide a description here in the narrative box. So you just click in the box and then you could type in more information about that. So this is limited to business management uses. So you will want to read through that. I'm going to pause here to unclick those boxes so that we can go down to actually submitting this application. So now you can see I've unclicked. So by just clicking on them again, I've unchecked them and left it just to the printer scanner only, and put in my statement that we need a copier. And now it's asking me, how would you like to provide the budget documentation? So in this area, this is where we're going to upload some documentation or provide a detailed list of items to be purchased. So here, if I click upload, then it will open up this information that will allow me to choose a file that I can share. So this is where I can click on this, and then I can choose a photo, a screenshot, maybe a screenshot of something from a vendor, or a file that is an estimate of sorts, or something of that nature where I can document the pricing and the store or vendor from which it will come. If you don't want to do that, you can provide a detailed list of the items purchased. So you don't have to upload anything if you don't feel comfortable doing that. And then that opens up a box here where you could put in, it actually gives you guidance below with the 5 things that you need. So the vendor or store name, so I could say Best Buy, and the name of the product is a copier. And the item description, maybe it's a copier, I'll just say copier machine. And we can get a model number. So maybe it's, we'll just make up some numbers. And then the price. And so my copier is going to be $500. So it gives you the actual guidance here below, the vendor or store name, location, address. So we do need to get a location address. So again, you don't have to upload information if you're not comfortable doing that. You can click on this box here that says provide a detailed list of the items to be purchased. And as long as you include all of this information that we can then verify when we review, then that would be sufficient. So then we go down, and the last section, the final section, is the attestation, grant agreement, and signature. So this you will want to read in detail. I won't go into this in detail here for the sake of time, but you want to read it thoroughly before you agree, and then you click on the agree box. Again, a few more items to click on. And again, you want to read all the way through. So you'll scroll down as you read through these important terms. Click on agree. Again, if you miss these agree boxes, then it will not allow you to submit. And here it's asking for your signature. So of course you want to read this thoroughly, and then you simply type in your name. And then you'll go down to this box here where it shows a little calendar, and you're going to indicate the date of your signature. So today is April 13th. We're going to put in the date. And then at the very bottom, it does ask you before you submit if you're interested in any other services with First Children's Finance. This is completely optional. If you are interested, then you simply check the boxes. Then you can save your draft. I always recommend that you save it. If you are comfortable with technology, you can save or copy or screenshot your entire application and put it, if you copy it, you can copy it into a Word document that you save for yourself. If you need help doing that, and that is not something you have to do, but it is something I recommend so that you could save a copy for yourself. Otherwise, you can always go into your submittable account, and you'll be able to see your application after the grant round deadline closes. So we have filled in our entire application. I'll just scroll up so that you can see. Sorry for the scrolling, but this is a review to show you that it has been filled in. So we have filled in everything from the very top. Okay. And we will click apply now. So when you do that, you will get a dialog box that says that you have successfully submitted. Because our application is not live yet, I'm not able to show you that dialog box, but you will get a dialog box that says that you have successfully submitted. You will also get an automated response from us that indicates that we have received your application. I want to just go through a few more tips in regard to Submittable, which again is the platform for which we provide the application. Some good things to know is we did mention a couple times that you can save your work by clicking on that save button at the bottom of the application. And you, as long as it is saved, your draft is saved, you can re-enter the grant portal as many times as you need to complete your application. Just make sure that you do save. Another tip is that Submittable works best on Google Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. If you use one of those supported browsers, you'll likely have better success. Once you have submitted and clicked that apply now button, once you have submitted your application in Submittable, you will not be able to make changes. However, if you realize you've made a mistake or there's something you want to add or you've changed your mind and it is before the deadline, you can contact us and ask us to reopen your application so that you can edit your application. You simply can call us at 612-473-6020 or email us at grants@firstchildrensfinance.org. Again, I want to emphasize that it's really important that you do this before the deadline and well before the deadline. Please don't try to do this at 15 minutes before 4:59 on the final day, because we receive so many emails and phone calls at that time that it's often, even though we have a whole team attending to the emails and the phones, it might not be possible to get to you within that time frame to open for edits. But please do, if you do have a kind of an emergency that you need to fix it, please do reach out to us as soon as you can so that we can help you get that fixed. Each application may cover one license setting only, and applicants may submit only one application per grant period for each license. Just wanted to remind you of that. Some additional tips are that you can add another email address in order to collaborate with another person in your organization on your application and your final report when you get to that process. We also will follow up with you about your application by email through Submittable, so make sure that you safe list notification emails from Submittable and from First Children's Finance, and make sure that the email that you use is one that you check regularly. Please do not wait until April 26th to begin your application or the very last day. In other words, don't wait to start or submit it on that day. The portal does close automatically when the computer clock turns over to 5 p.m. and we are not able to accept any applications or any additional information after that time. I just wanted to mention the timeline. Predetermined criteria is used to score each application, and grants are awarded competitively based on all applications received during a grant period. Make sure that you use exact costs in your budget for the items that reflect your business management needs only. The grant review process can take up to 8 weeks, and the notifications letters, whether you're awarded or not awarded, are sent to all applicants, informing them at the same time. So, and those do go through the email that you establish when you set up this application or when you set up your Submittable account. Application materials and the application itself will be made available in Hmong, Somali, and Spanish in addition to English. And we do have interpreter services available upon request. Again, you can contact us by email or with the grants team helpline 612-473-6020. I promised that I'd show that information again in writing, so here it is. Thank you for watching this video today. We look forward to reviewing your application.